Hi, and welcome to CMPP's Speakers for Schools programme. My name's Rachel, and today I'm going to be chatting to Jonathan George. Now, Jonathan is an investment manager for Sunlife of Canada, and he's going to take a bit of time today to just tell us what he does and how he got to that position. So, hi, Jonathan.
Hiya.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
No, that's okay.
So, Jonathan, let's start by finding out then what an investment manager does. What is it that you do for a job?
Okay, well, I have to explain what my company does first.
Great.
Because it'll make explaining what I do a lot easier. So I work for a life assurance company and I've worked there for 25 years.
Wow.
And what my company does is it helps people live happier lives by helping them prepare for uncertainties that may arise and hopefully enjoy a much longer life by providing them with enough money to do it. More and more people are actually living longer, so they need the financial security to make the most of it. So that's what we try and do. So how do we go about that simple aim? Well, in exchange for a small amount of money every month, we promise to pay a big pot of money if you or one of your loved ones unfortunately die unexpectedly. And that allows you then to carry on your life as you wish. We also help people throughout their lives save and invest as they earn. So hopefully they will get to retirement and they'll have a big pot of money, which will allow them then to retire comfortably. Now, when people actually approach retirement, there's lots and lots of choices today. And it can get very, very complicated. One of the options that you have is to buy something called an annuity. Now, an annuity, basically you exchange a big pot of money for a small amount of money every month until you die. Now, if you live to a very ripe old age, say 110, that's really, really good value. If you don't live quite so long, it's not quite so good value for you as a customer. But what we're doing is we're making sure that there is enough money to be comfortable in that old age. And back to my role, okay? So we have clever people, and they're known as actuaries, who work out how much money we need to meet those promises every year. They actually work out life expectancies and when they think people will actually live to, and they basically say you need to have this amount of money every year right the way out into the future, the next 50 years. And my job is to basically make sure there is that money on the day when those obligations fall due. If we do a great job and there's a little bit of money left over, what we do is we pocket it and put it in our pockets as dividends. If we don't do such a great job, then we've got to go and find the money from elsewhere. So we might have to borrow money, and that hits profits.
Right, I see.
So what I'm actually doing is, as the value of those promises rise, I want the value of the assets to rise and mirror it, so that we're always able to meet those obligations. And my role can be quite technical. And it's impacted very, very heavily by investment markets. So this particular week, we've actually seen a lot of stress in the investment markets. And as a result, I've had to do a lot of trading to make sure that there's always going to be a gap between the value of our promises and the value of our assets. And I want to keep it as small as possible. But because we're dealing with very, very large numbers, the company's assets are worth £10 billion, so an awful lot of money. What we have to do is we have to trade to do that. So this week alone, and it's only Wednesday morning, I've already actually instructed £130 million worth of trades.
Wow.
So it's quite a lot of money.
Yes.
It's actually an awful lot of money.
Yeah.
But I have to operate within kind of corporate governance frameworks and get approval for doing things. Nobody really operates in isolation. So that's basically what I do, Rachel.
Thank you. You've really explained that really well, and actually explaining everything that sort of Sunlife of Canada does as well. So thank you for being so clear and explaining that. And then tell us then how you got to the position you got to. So how did you become where you are today?
The short answer is a lot of hard work. But actually, my story starts at the age of 10, so a bit younger than your audience today. You may have noticed, or you may not have, but I've got a slight disability. I've got cerebral palsy, which affects my right side.
Right.
And at the age of 10, an educational psychologist came around to my parents' house and did some tests with me, and then asked me to watch a couple of videos. And after that, I got sent upstairs so that my parents could have a private chat with him. And he said to my mum and dad, don't expect too much from Jonathan with exams or career. As long as he finds a nice little job that he can fund a reasonable lifestyle, that's all we can really expect. I was actually sitting at the top of the stairs listening to this, and I felt infuriated at the injustice and what he was actually really saying. And I said to myself, I'm going to show him. I didn't have a clue how I was going to show him or think any deeper than that. But I decided to work really, really hard. You know, there are some jobs that I physically could not do. I couldn't become a bricklayer or something like that. So I had to use this. I had to use my head. And, you know, you may be thinking I was always at the top of my class, but I really wasn't. I was towards the bottom of my class. And I just said, well, I'll have to work really hard then. So I worked harder than everybody else.
Wow.
in my class. I got my GCSEs. My teachers didn't think I was able to do A-levels because they didn't think I was bright enough, so I did BTEC. Now, one thing about BTEC that I should tell you is it's a fantastic course, and it remains a fantastic program today.
Yeah.
So, you know, whether you go through the A-level route or the BTEC route, or you do some kind of other vocational activity, it doesn't really matter. The courses are really well designed today. So, you know, anyway, so I did that at about the age of 18. And then I went and did a degree. I wanted to give it up lots of times in the 4 years that I did it. But I worked really, really hard. And then I left college having got a 2-1, which was amazing for me. And I started looking for jobs. I quite liked doing the accounting. So I started looking for an accounting role. And then a neighbor, Valerie, said to me, there's a job at the life assurance company in their investment department. It sounded quite glamorous, so I applied, and I got to say, it was one of the worst interviews that I've ever had. But they must have seen something in me, and they actually got the job. So fantastic.
Oh, wow.
And they put me on their program. So I did a lot more studying because, of course, I was working and studying at the same time. And this took a lot of effort. So I was getting up at 5 a.m. in the morning, studying till 8 a.m., going off to work, coming back, having tea, starting again at 6:30, finishing at 10.
Oh my goodness.
Doing most of Saturday. Sundays, I generally gave myself off. But I needed to put all of that hard work in because I tripped. And I mean, I tripped through those exams. On a couple of occasions, I failed the exams and had to retake. But the one thing that I knew was I wanted to show him. Remember from the age of 10, that story I just told you?
Yeah.
I wanted to show him. So that's what I was doing. And that's what motivated me. I was building my competency through my work experience at that time. And they allowed me to start managing money. So I started in managing cash. And then I managed other investments called bonds. And then in 2009, Sunlife bought Lincoln, the company that I was working for, and they invited me to move from Gloucester to Basingstoke. So I did. I was newly married at that time, and my wife was heavily pregnant. So we moved 2 weeks before my daughter was born. But I remain flexible, and they're still putting up with me today. So I must be doing something right.
Fantastic. What an inspirational story. Thank you, Jonathan, for sharing that. That's so, like you say, from the age of 10, sitting on top of the stairs, which most kids do when they're told to go upstairs and not listen.
Yeah.
And given you the absolute determination and drive to get where you are today and prove everybody wrong. Well,
Yeah.
particularly that guy, I'm sure.
I mean, I've never seen him ever again.
No.
And I'm 49 now, so we're talking about a long time. But that one incident had a dramatic, life-changing impact for me in a way that could never have been predicted by anybody else.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And now you're an investment manager for Sunlife of Canada, an absolutely huge organization. So
and do you know the funny thing is? They didn't think I was very good at maths at school.
And that, well, there you go.
I moved school at the end of year 9, as it is today, and I was put in, there was 5 sets for maths, and I was put in the bottom set.
Right. Wow.
Yeah. And I had to argue with my teachers about being put up a set. And they eventually begrudgingly put me up so that I could get what was then a C grade in GCSE, because I was the first cohort to do that particular set of exams before it was O levels. And I just had to keep going. I'm doing a course right now, nothing to do with my work. I'm doing a theology and biblical studies course.
Right.
But part of that course, there's a section on learning how to learn. And there's so much research, both in terms of what you need to do in terms of environment, getting your, study place at home or wherever it is nice, so that you are able to learn, having a good night's sleep so that you're able to take it in, actually doing it in terms of bite-size chunks so that you can take it in, and then giving yourself a break so that your brain has time to process that information and digest it. And also, your learning styles, your personal learning styles. Some people learn better by listening, and that's me. Others learn better by doing and practicing. And it's understanding yourselves. So that's really, really important.
Yeah, and I think you've sort of hit the nail on the head there as well. If you've got persistence and determination, you can do anything.
Yeah, and you don't have to be, academically brilliant. If you just keep moving forward a little bit every day, every week, every month, you'll become really knowledgeable in a subject.
Yeah,
I've worked with a lot of people and known a lot of people who are much brighter than me, but they tend to fall away because they're, they don't have that same determination and
yeah, the
persistency
same drive. Yeah,
and
yeah,
that drive and
yeah.
determination. So that's really quite interesting, I think.
I think it's all fascinating. And you've given some absolutely fantastic bits of advice. Is there any final bits that you'd like to share with us?
Just keep optimistic,
That's a great one.
just be optimistic,
Yeah,
and learn how to learn and what makes you learn best,
fantastic.
and be a lifelong learner.
Yeah,
And by the way, failing isn't actually a bad thing. First time I failed my exam, it was a horrendous crush to my pride. I was bewildered, but I learned it again, the subject again, passed it, and I understood the subject probably a lot better than I did had I passed it first time.
yeah,
But I think you also need to follow your passions.
yeah,
Yeah. For some of you, you may be mathsy, and that's great. Others, will run for the hills. If I set a little maths problem right now, but they'll be interested in history or geography or whatnot. And I think also what's really important is we try and make the world a better place by being, nice and kind to people and giving our time, giving our, stories about our experiences, because it actually comes back to you. Other
yeah.
people are then willing to help you, and collaboration skills are really, really important today. That world is shrinking. Schools, exams, it's about individual performance. When you get into the workplace, it's about collaboration. It's about diversity of opinion. It's about seeking out people who may think very differently to you, because you end up with a stronger answer. And it doesn't matter which industry you are in, that will always be the case.
Thank you, Jonathan. You have given us such an inspirational story, inspirational for anybody, but also anybody with a disability or with cerebral palsy as well. I think just listening to you, chatting to you, and showing your true persistence and determination. It's fantastic, and where you got to where you are today. Thank you so much for your time. That was absolutely brilliant.
No, thank you. And very finally, I wish everybody who's listening really good luck with their careers.
Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you ever so much.